Shalom. Today we're discussing a subject that is very important. It is a two-folded lecture, and it's going to be very short. I'm going to be discussing two big mistakes that we, the youth, always make. Beginning with number one, which is not redeeming the time. Now, what is redeeming the time? To redeem means to make the most use of. And time is a resource, and it is a finite resource. And with any resource, it can either be used effectively or ineffectively. An effective use of a resource means to accomplish the objective for which the resource was given. Ineffective use of a resource is not accomplishing or failing to accomplish the objective for which the resource was given. Every resource has an objective. If I hand you a hammer, me giving you that hammer had an objective. There's something you're supposed to do with that hammer. If you do what you were supposed to do with that hammer, you've used that resource effectively. If you don't do what you're supposed to do with that hammer, you've used the resource ineffectively. And time is a resource given by God, finite resource given by God, and that resource has an objective. That objective is called your destiny. Your destiny is your predefined course of life. There's something that your life in this limited resource of time is supposed to accomplish. And the folly, the blunder, the mistake of not redeeming the time is essentially not effectively using that limited time that you have to accomplish something very specific. Listen very carefully. Wasting our time doing things such as watching Netflix, hanging out with friends, going here, vacationing here, going there, and doing a lot of activities that do not help you to attain the ultimate objective of your life. And these activities may be fun in the meanwhile, but they're ultimately inefficient and leakages and wasted motion, wasted energy. It's like having a test tomorrow at 5 a.m. and it's 9 p.m. and instead of studying, I'm watching YouTube. The YouTube video may be funny, but when I wake up tomorrow and it's 4:59 and I realize I have a test in 1 minute, I'm going to be in pain because I'm going to fail the test. That's how life is going to be. There are three things that end up happening when you waste time and you don't redeem the time. The first thing that happens is that, well, like I said before, you're going to end up wasting your life, because wasting time is wasting life, because life is time. Your life is measured in time. That's why we call it a lifetime. To die simply means to be removed from time. To live means to be in time. And so if you're wasting time, you're wasting life. If somebody lives 75 years, that life was measured in 75 years of time, a 75-year span. And so wasting time is wasting your life. There's no greater mistake than, as far as natural and finite resources are concerned, than wasting time. You can waste money and get it back. You can waste food and get it back. You can waste water and get it back. But if you waste time, you cannot get it back. I can lose $20, walk over to my friend's house and find $20 on the floor. I can't walk to my friend's house and pick up 5 years. Oh my God, look, there's 5 years. Let me go and redo some mistakes I made. Nah. If you wasted 5 years, the 5 years are gone. If you waste $5, I can get $5 back. This is very powerful and very important. Redeeming the time. Redeeming the time. That's the first thing that happens when you don't redeem the time, is that you end up wasting your life. You end up expending energy doing a bunch of things that don't actually help you to accomplish the objective for which God put you in the earth for. Before you watched TV, before you watched Netflix, before you took 55 different vacations, there was a reason for which God put you in the earth in the first place. Before you did all these activities, God had a purpose for putting you on the earth. See, so here's God, here's you, and here's activities. Before you did these activities, God had an idea for putting you on the earth. And when you don't use your time effectively, that idea won't be actualized. You'll be doing a bunch of things that have nothing to do with the objective of your life. It is like taking a test, a math test, and instead of answering the questions, you write a bunch of poems on the side of the paper. No matter how eloquently written the poems are, you're going to fail the test. Because you didn't do what the test told you to do, you did what you felt like doing. That's what can happen with your life. You can end up doing a bunch of things that God never assigned you to do, and you'll be at the end of your life looking back at what you've done and realizing that everything was futile. It was vanity. That you lived a life, you went on many vacations, you saw many friends, you did many things, but the world is not going to benefit from anything that God put inside of you because you wasted time doing things that don't matter. That's the first thing that happens, you waste your life. The second thing that happens is that you end up living a life and dying that nobody will remember. Because those that we remember are only the people that lived their life to serve the world that they were born into. If I name a bunch of great men right now, the first thing that will pop in your mind is what they did for the world. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs. The first thing that rings in your mind is what they did. what Gandhi did for India, what Steve Jobs did for technology, what Albert Einstein did for science, and what Martin Luther King did for Black Americans. It's always the reason why you remember these men after they pass away is what they gave to the world. When you do not use the finite resources of time well, and you waste time doing things that are not helping to accomplish the ultimate objective of your life, you will die and nobody will remember you. And that's very tragic. And I'm not being sarcastic at all. That's what the reality is going to be. We only remember those who live life serving the world. History never remembers selfish people. If you live life for yourself, you're going to die by yourself. And only people that will remember you will be your immediate family. And that's because, well, they're your family. They don't really have a choice. But those that have a choice and can choose who they will remember will use that mental capacity to remember people that actually impacted their life in a great way. Nobody knows what Steve Jobs' hobbies were or what vacations he went on. We don't care. What we care is his contribution to the world that we now live in. I'm currently recording this video on an iPhone which is owned by a company called Apple that he founded. So his life and his contribution to this world will be immortalized, or at least will span a long period of time, because what he has done for the world has great impact and influence on our life. The third thing that happens when you do not redeem your time, listen very carefully. I said the first one is that you end up wasting your life. The second one is that you die and you will not be remembered. The third thing that happens when you do not redeem your time is ultimately that you will not be rewarded for the life that you lived. Listen very carefully. Rewards only follow accomplishment of assignment. Listen very carefully. This is so important. Rewards only follow accomplishment of assignment. The teacher rewards you with an A+ if you did the assignment well. It is possible to stand before Jesus Christ and have nothing to show for your life. That you stand before Jesus Christ and you end up having to realize that everything that he called you to do, you didn't actually do. You did everything else but what he called you to do, and there could be no reward. And so you'll be one of those people that enter into heaven barely, as by the fire. When we test your work and everything you did in the earth, none of it was built upon the foundation of divine inspiration. In other words, you didn't do what God created you to do. You did what you felt like doing in the earth, which counts for just about nothing. Now, since I just listed those three very integral things that happen as a result of you not redeeming the time, I'm now going to discuss how exactly do you redeem your time. You redeem the time by first defining your values. Your values are the things that are the most important things in your life, or things that should warrant the most time investment in your life. As a believer, my value system, and I think the value system of every believer, should stand at least as the first two to be, number one, being your obedience towards God, and number two, being your service towards man. Serving man with love, serving man with your gifts, serving man with your ideas, serving man with wisdom. I think those two should be at the top of every believer's value system. Excuse me while I plug my charger in. Those two values should be at the top of every believer's value system. Everything else after that, I believe, can be subjective. But the idea is that since serving and obeying God is number one on my value system, and serving man is second on my value system, those two components will warrant the most time investment. I will invest most of my time in seeking God and loving and pursuing and to know God and to walk in his ways. And the second place that will warrant most of the investment of my time, my finite resource of time, will be in serving man. So I'll be spending time in personal development, spending time in growing and increasing in knowledge in the areas in which God has called me. I'll spend time developing my gifts. I'll spend time building a knowledge base around my giftings and ensuring that I minister the gifts that God has given me with excellence and with diligence, and so forth and so on. I will invest most of my time in the areas in which I believe warrant the most attention from my life, which I have stated is number one, being God as a person and as my Father and Lord, and then number two, being people and serving people. And so I begin to structure how I manage my time around my value system. If you don't have a defined value system, you'll use time randomly. You won't really be able to define where your time should be invested. Having a value system is like having a list of priorities, that these are the most important things to me and that's where my time should be. What happens is that most people spend major time on minor things and spend minor time on major things. They spend a lot of time on things that don't matter most. So when summertime comes around, people spend more time vacationing than they spend time doing things in that free period of time, not having to worry about school and many things, and they spend it vacationing instead of spending that time to perhaps seek God, perhaps find and discover the purpose, to develop themselves, to transform their mindsets, to do things that actually produce something for the world and not for themselves. But they spend the 3 months of free time making memories that really don't matter to anyone else but themselves, which ultimately is futile. I'm not saying it's wrong to vacation, but vacationing is not as important as fulfilling your purpose. And something that's more important than another thing should warrant more time investment. It's just that simple. That's redeeming the time. The second great mistake that we young people tend to make is not establishing our vision. What is vision? The vision of your life is the blueprint, what God has spoken. In fact, let me correct myself. The vision of your life is a pictorial representation of what your life and what the world should look like after you have finished and accomplished your assignment. Listen very carefully. Your vision is a pictorial representation in your mind of what your life and the world should look like when you accomplish the objective of your life. It's your vision. It's like you can sit back and imagine what life should look like because of what God has put in me and because of the goal and the objective that He's given my life. And I should be able to see what the world should look like when I accomplish it. I should be able to see what my life should look like when I accomplish it. This is very important. And when we do not establish that vision, many bad things happen. Vision creates direction and discipline. Having a vision is like having a dartboard. You know where to aim and you know where not to go. When you have a vision, you know where to go and not where not to go. When you know and have a vision, have an aim, you know where to go and where not to go. That's what I'm trying to say. If I have a bow and arrow and I have a dartboard before me, I know where not to aim and I know where to aim. When I have a vision, all my energy, all my resources are all moving in towards a very specific direction. I know where I'm going. When I know where I'm going, I know who needs to be with me to get there. I know what I need to get there, and everything I'm doing, everything I am spending energy and resources on is all moving towards a very specific direction. When I have a vision, I know what to read, who to associate with, who to submit to as far as mentorship is concerned. Everything begins to make sense because I know the ultimate end goal of my life. Everything begins to coordinate itself. Vision brings coordination. It brings discipline. It brings direction. I'm going that way, not that way, not that way. It removes distraction. Every ounce of my energy and resources will be moving in that direction. And everything that does not help me move in that direction will be discarded. It can be relationships, it can be things, it can be places, opportunities. And so when you discover your vision, the world becomes a library, as one man stated, for you to be able to master that vision. Everything you learn, everything you read, everything you watch should be helping you to move towards that vision. Essentially, everything you do, everything you watch, everything you read, everyone you associate with, all of these things should just be components of you moving towards the fulfillment of your vision. Vision brings that straight aim. It brings that purpose-driven life. It brings that one-directional momentum, that your momentum is moving towards one direction, not everywhere else. When you take a test, you're focused on this test and answering these questions. It creates efficiency. But imagine having a test full of all different kinds of subjects, full of all different kinds of questions, with no ultimate, and the test just kept going on and on and on, and you never knew when the test ended. There would be no sense of direction. There would be no stability in the expenditure of your energies. It's very important. There has to be me being able to see where I'm going in life. I'm going in that direction. I'm trying to accomplish that thing, and everything that I have with me, both internal and external, the information, the resources, the people, the books, the videos, the lectures, the sermons, everything I have is moving with me in that particular direction. This is very powerful, very important. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18, the Bible says, where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained. Unrestrained means to be undisciplined. So they have nothing to bridle their life. They have nothing to bring control to their life. They have nothing to bring their life into a place of order and structure and balance because they don't know where they're going. Visionless people are disciplineless people. Visionless people are directionless people. The proof of a visionless life is randomness. Because there's no vision, you have no specific aim, you can do anything anyhow. It's like having a bow and arrow and not having something to aim at. You can throw it at anything. But if you have a dartboard, that bow and arrow is moving towards a specific direction. The dartboard is that way. So I'm going to throw my dart that way. But imagine there's no dartboard. Where do I throw my dart at? See, that's how life will be like. You don't know what you're doing. Everything you do has no particular purpose. The people you associate with, the things you read, things you watch, the church you attend, the business you start, everything you're doing is just random. It's not moving in any specific direction. There's no strategic approach to accomplishing a divine task. It is just me moving around and just breathing and just being around people. The friends I have, no purpose. They're just my friends. It's not, the friends I'm having are not specific, divinely orchestrated relationships designed to help me to accomplish a very specific divine task. The things I'm watching are just things for entertainment. The things I'm watching aren't me watching things because these things that I'm watching help me to obtain that divine task. For example, if my divine task was to become an Olympic athlete, the things I would begin to watch would help me to become a better athlete. The friends I would associate with would be athletes who would help me become a better athlete. The books I would read, guess what they'd be about? Being an athlete, being an Olympic athlete. The things I would watch be about being an Olympic athlete. When I have that vision of becoming an Olympic athlete, everything I do, everything I watch, everyone I associate with is helping me get to that ultimate goal. That's the second mistake. I'm going to end here. This is supposed to be a very concise teaching. If anybody wants to receive the life of God and become born again, say these words with me. Father, I thank you for sending your son to die for my sins and raising for my glory. I receive him and I receive his life in Jesus' name.